Good evening, everybody, to Astrology Unplugged. My name is Rick DiClemente, and this is week number 105. And some weeks we talk just plain astrology, which is tonight. Some weeks we have guests on for different subjects. We have decided that the week of the 28th of November will be on the subject of ayahuasca, which is the LSD similar type of organic compound in South America that many Americans are rushing to for consciousness raising. I'm not going to advocate it or go against it. I'm just going to try to make a show that's educational to you with people who have the experience in Costa Rica, other people with experience in the country of Peru. So that will be an interesting evening to try to get it from the horse's mouth from people who've actually been there. That will be the week after Thanksgiving. But tonight, I'm going to return to doing charts because we can't get out of the habit of looking at planets and learning how to read charts. Plus, it's my strength. It just so happens, and it's just not a coincidence, that Renate has joined us tonight. And it really fits well because I'm looking for people with planets in the early fixed degrees, early Taurus, early Scorpio, early Aquarius, and early Leo. Renate, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to, well, I'll be looking at her transits too. It's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the natal chart and transits. Plus, if it's me, I have no idea what I'm going to do till it happens. We'll just see what happens. Okay, here's Renate's chart. Okay, you may not have seen your chart before. Have you, Renate?
Yeah.
You've seen your chart before?
Yes.
Okay, so here we have a person born in Germany, April 25th, 1939. We see just born afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So the sun is placed in Taurus. The moon is in Cancer. That's a very lovely combination. Sun and Taurus, moon in Cancer is very good. Here's why. Taurus, many people who are Taurus marry people who are Cancers. It's very common.
I have been married to a Cancer.
Okay. It's very common. And the main reason why, they're both homebodies. They don't like a lot of excitement and change. They like their security. They're really ramped up in the physical home. The logs, the bricks of the house, the dirt outside, the garden. They like to get their hands in the soil. And to Taurus, it's very anchoring. And to Cancer, it's very stable, it's reliable. And Cancer is all about not being abandoned. Not being abandoned. So Taurus is very assured. They stick around. They're very reliable and devoted. There's only really one problem that comes in with the Cancer-Taurus combination, and that is sticking too close to home. Sticking.
Not me.
What?
Not me.
Okay, well, we're not talking about your chart yet. We're talking about what Taurus is like. Okay? There's a difference between me talking about the pure archetype of Taurus versus your chart. And as we read your chart, we'll start to see how your chart opens up. So we see you do have 3 planets in Aries, so that gets you pretty active. You've got the moon opposite Mars, which makes you very Martian. And this moon Mars sends all of its energies up to Saturn in Aries. So you got a lot of Aries in you. So automatically with a lot of Aries, which is get up and go, you don't have to worry so much about the Taurus being Archie Bunker-like and sit in the same old chair every night. Your 3 main things about your chart are very conducive. You got a sun in Taurus, a moon in Cancer, and Virgo rising. Okay, so Virgo is all about fixing things, down to earth, get things done. We see in your chart you got a grand trine. These are planets that get along harmoniously. They're all in Earth signs. You have Neptune in Virgo, Mars in Capricorn, and Uranus in Taurus. So you have the Earth trine of Mars, Neptune, Uranus, and that's somebody who's very down to earth, and you would not want to play king in the mountain with this woman because she would knock you down and you would never get to the top because she would hold her ground very steady and very strong. She does have a Gemini midheaven, but we're not sure of that because it's only 0 degrees 42 minutes. And if her birth time were off like 1 minute, she could have Taurus at the midheaven. So we'll ask her questions to determine whether the midheaven is Taurus or whether it's Gemini, okay? Remember, the midheaven is the part of your chart that represents your calling, the type of work you do, etc. So, Renate, are you more comfortable at work behind a desk where it's always the same, or out on the road doing a lot of things?
I did a lot of different things.
Okay. Now you see, that's very unusual for a Taurus. So we now know that she does have Gemini in the midheaven. So the midheaven is ruled by Mercury, and if Taurus were there, it would be ruled by Venus. So since it's ruled by Mercury, and her Mercury is found where? In Aries, in the 8th house, we know that she's a very good talker. She's very persuasive. And with all this 8th house, she would be very good in many different things. Organizing, working for mining companies, working in psychology, working in digging deep into things, working with private eyes in the police field. We know she has a very deep probing mind. She never accepts anything on the surface. She digs. What's behind that? What's behind that? She never accepts the surface value. She has a very restless mind, but also it's kind of an aggressive, strong. She gets her mind on something, she's going to follow suit. So, in general, Renate, what types of work have you done?
Yeah, none of what you said, except that I was interested in astrology. But I worked for airlines, travel agency, big music companies, record companies, university, doctor's office, kindergarten, social project.
Okay, so you've done an awful lot. Okay, very good. We see what's called a Neptune bucket here. You've got a bucket pattern. You've actually got 2 buckets here. You've got a great big bucket here, and the handle is Neptune. You also got another bucket that's probably more true, and the handle is Mars. So the Mars is very strong here.
What is a bucket?
A bucket is like a fan. It's like a fan. Everything's fanned out, and one planet's on the other side. Mm-hmm. So I think this is like your fan, and this is like the bucket handle. It makes that Mars very strong. Now, Mars is very strong in the sign of Capricorn. That's the best place for Mars. That's called Mars in its exaltation. Mars is exalted when it's in Capricorn. What that means is Miss Renate has a lot of dynamic energy, and at first we thought she was kind of scattered because she had the Gemini in her, but we find out she's not scattered because this is a clear symbol of somebody who really wants to work efficiently. She uses her energies very efficiently, and if things aren't done efficiently, she gets upset and she needs to change things so that they are efficient, because Mars in Capricorn is very efficient. You have a lot of talents, a lot of abilities. In the 8th house, what I'm talking to you about, you said that it wasn't your job. Yes, Susan Rivera, that's exactly what I'm saying. Might be multiple careers, and it's usually 2 at once, almost always. What that means, Renate, is that when the eighth house stuff I'm referring to. The eighth house is going into the mysteries of life, going into the deeper parts of life. That's one reason people end up in insurance. It has a lot to do with life and death, because insurance is that way. It has a lot to do with psychology, because you're digging deep into the mind. It has a lot to do with going down the alleys of life, going out after taboos. You're not going to stop because something's taboo. Get out of the way. Here I come anyway. You're not afraid of it. Some people get in dark alleys and they get scared to death and they run and hide. You're the opposite. Okay. Now, I don't want to get a lot into the natal chart. What I want to talk about is what's happening now. On May the 1st of this year, Uranus has been going through Aries for 7 years. It's quite a long time. It's rather like clockwork. It's been going through the sign of Aries, which gave us the Arab Spring. It gave us the people revolting in New York City. I forget their name. People standing up. Huh?
LGB, blah, blah. LGB.
The ones that were occupied. That's the word. Occupied.
Oh.
Then it came about the American Spring, and now you're saying it can transform into the Me Too movement, which is quite different. So if we go back to your chart, what happened is that for 7 years, Uranus went through all these hitting all these planets, very significant. But as of May 1st, it crossed into 0 Taurus, which is about right there, and it's not going to get to 4 degrees yet for a while. It's now about 2 degrees, so it's going back and forth between 0, 1, 2, and in about a year from now, it's going to get to 4 degrees and sit on your sun. Now, if you were more of the stay-at-home type, don't do anything type, nothing ever changes type, this would be very rebellious for you, a revolution, and I would have to warn you about it. But you're not that way. You're already telling me that you've got extroversion. You're able to go see this kind of person, talk to this kind of person. So when Uranus comes through, what it does is it makes you want to explore. This is similar. This has nothing to do with age, but just similar to the midlife crisis. But usually the midlife crisis is at age 42. This has nothing to do with your age. This is the fact that the rebellious, freedom-loving planet of Uranus is about right here. It's almost on your sun. And take a look at where it started. It takes 84 years to go around. It's gone all the way around in 84 years. 7 years per sign. 7 years per sign. And now it's back here, and when you're 84, it'll be back where it started. And when the Uranus returns, that's a real big deal, especially for someone like you who appears to be very lucid. Now, it was interesting that you said to me that you have a love of astrology. Usually a love of astrology, this planet is very strong, and so is this planet. Now, you're getting your astrological love from somewhere else. Basically, you're getting a very strong spiritual interest because Jupiter is opposite Neptune. These are people, Jupiter, Neptune people, who have very strong spiritual interest. Now, sometimes when you have the conjunction or the trine, it's usually really positive. And sometimes when you have the opposition, you have to wonder about it because sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not. Sometimes your intuition is right on and you believe wholeheartedly and it's fine. And other times you feel the same and you find out you're chasing shadows. So you can't not always trust Jupiter, Neptune. I'm not sure why, but it comes about from a past life where there's a lot of spiritual interest, but it's not solid. solidly developed yet. So we see that this is probably the reason you got the interest in astrology. Also, I think with Virgo rising, you like to calculate things, get things down to the nth degree, and see clearly. You have a very interesting chart, a good chart. The main thing that's coming now is this. Your philosophy is being revolutionized. Now, it went to 20, this is the philosophy area, the ninth house. It was at 25 Aries about 2.5 years ago, approximately. Then in May, it came into 0 Taurus, and it's going to hit these 2 planets, and you're going to have really huge philosophical awakenings. So what's happening to you now is this. I feel quite safe saying this. You have picked up a lot of philosophical tidbits because you've been interested in so many things for so long. But now you turn around and you go into the closet that keeps all your mental tidbits. And you're saying, well, is it really working for me? I got a lot of things in there, but is it really working for me? For me, the real Renate, is it really working for who I am? So now you're going through a very big change.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's quite all right. You're going through a very big change now. I'm going through this little thing I found. Well, that thing doesn't mean anything to me. What about these things? Oh, these things are really good. You're sorting through all your stuff. So you, with all that Gemini in your chart, you've been accumulating all this data, all this information. But now it's time for you. Does this stuff line up with who I am? Does this stuff help me be who I really am? And there's a real obsession now, and you should follow this obsession, that you gotta be me. I've got to be me now. Especially as the Uranus return is starting to close. And when it closes, that's when you're done. Doesn't mean death, but it means I've paid my dues to this world. I'm done. I've done my thing. I've done what my mission has been. So there's a real focus now on I've got to do things my way. It's got nothing to do with negating somebody else. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
But tell me how you're feeling recently. Just in general.
Tense inside.
Okay, now we're going to follow this. Tense inside. Give me a more description of that.
Let's see. I went into this ET stuff and this new Earth and this and I came to the conclusion that the only thing in my life that I really want is to be in unconditional love and open my heart.
Okay.
Because all the other stuff I have done.
And it all leads to that anyway. You're exactly right. That's terrific. Because when you come down to thinking about it, I need to be myself. What you're really saying is you need to be a pure expression of God. Now, you guys will remember, you weren't with us, Renate, but about 4 weeks ago, we had a marvelous author with us named Nick Arandes, who writes and records and travels speaking about A Course in Miracles. And it's all about removing the blockages so that you can love more. Well, Nick sent me a private video this week. It was 10 minutes long, talking about the reason we get confused, if I may. I'm going to paraphrase him. The reason we get confused is because we think that we are other than a receiver. And he says that's what we are. We are a receiver. And that's why when you're inspired and you feel God's inspiration coming through you as a speaker comes through you, and it could be colored by you on the way out. But if you think you're the source of something, you're really in trouble. You're really in trouble. And once you realize you're not the source, but you can affect the expression coming through you, then you're on track. So what you're getting as Uranus is coming over your sun, and then it's going to return, you're getting the higher octave of Uranus. This is very rare, and this is why, out of nowhere, you're on your show on the night that I happen to be reading for listeners. So, when it comes down to everything else is stuff, that's what you said. It's all just stuff. I just want to open my heart more. That's what all the great saints talk about. That's what all the great religions talk about. And what I like about what you're saying is, what I'm hearing is you're decluttering. You're decluttering. And we all know the sign of stuff is what sign? Taurus. What's the other sign of stuff? Cancer. So Taurus and Cancer, you got a lot of stuff. Okay? Because these things mean something to you. This means something to you. But after a while, you can't breathe because it's all over you. And Uranus, the planet, makes you want to breathe. Be yourself. And the more what's so funny about it is the more you love everybody else, the more you become you. So you're right on track. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about this feeling, and I'm going to move on. The planet will make you feel tense. It's not meant to make you feel tense. It's made to make you feel energized. But if there are blockages, you're going to feel tense because what's happening is that real Renate is coming up through, and there are some old blockages that are still in the way. And once you surrender and allow that to come through, which is not Taurus's nature. Taurus's nature is to stop, control everything, anchor everything. Well, you can only go so far with anchoring. So you're going about what this tension is a force field that you cannot stop. You can't stop it. You think it's tense now. Wait about a year from now when it's exact. But by then, I suspect you're going to have a lot of your obstacles out of your way. You're going to be freer. You're going to feel more ready to do it. And I think you're going to be closer to home. Go ahead.
You know, have a look at my Saturn in the 8th house, you know, at the beginning of 2020. This conglomerate of Saturn, Pluto, and they all make a square to that Saturn.
So that's Saturn here? This is the one that's going to hit right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's at 20. Mine's at 20.
Yeah, at the beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
Pluto, Saturn, and the other ones, they make a square.
So that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. I've been doing this 40 years. I've got Mars and Neptune sitting at the same degree. These planets are beating the hell out of me. But I'm telling you, from experience, what I'm learning, it's going to be painful. You're going to age a little faster than normal. You're going to have your aches and pains, yes. All Saturn transits are that way. But there's no doubt in my mind, I'm learning the hard way. Grace will be dumped upon you. You're going to be ready for these energies, okay? What Saturn does, see, the old books scare the hell out of you. Oh, Saturn's coming, ooh. Your kneecaps are going to fall off.
And Pluto, both.
Yeah, and Pluto, that's okay. I've written a lot of articles about Pluto. Will work with you if you help it. So Pluto works to help you evolve. Saturn works for you in terms of making things come manifest. Mm-hmm. See, that's why if you've got bad energy, Saturn is a real scary planet because it's going to manifest and congeal into something bad, like a cyst or a tumor. But if you got good energy, Saturn will still give you aches and pains, but it really will congeal you. I can't tell you now how, after all these years, how I'm feeling so confident in my ability to be by myself, away from this world which has gone nuts, and watch the Holy Spirit. I got a cat crawling on top of my computer. I watch the Holy Spirit. He wants my ice. He's absolute. He's absolute chaos. Everything he gets into. What's happening is you are congealing as a self, not related to husband, not related to kids, not related to job, not related to the body. You are congealing. You are coming together. That's why you do not need to be afraid. Here's the main question for you. Are you going to run from it?
No.
Are you going to run from your responsibilities?
No. Yes, I like to, but I don't.
Yes. Well, he's changed my microphone now. I don't know what you do. You've got a certain touch. You've got a certain touch. Let's see what I can do now. There we go. All right. Since you're not running from your responsibility, Saturn's going to help you. I have seen, and I'm sure John has seen it in his research too. It is unbelievable how many times people get the Oscar, people get the Nobel Prize, people get the biggest advances in their careers when Saturn's on them. You see, the thing about Saturn is it's like Pluto. You can't BS it. What's real is what's going to get concretized. It's going to get manifested. And what's not real is going to get manifested too. But the ones Saturn's tough on are the ones who are escaping responsibility, which is very much like what Pluto does. Pluto's more of a responsibility for your soul. So I have every reason to believe that you're going to come on strong, you're going to go through the changes, you're going to feel this tension inside lessen, you're going to feel more and more ready to be you. And it's going to be assisted, and it's going to be supported by these planets.
Good.
I have every reason to believe it.
Yeah, I have already 2 years Pluto-Moon opposition behind me, and
that's not simple, is it?
That's not what?
That's not. I got a cat running across me. It's not simple.
No, I made a trauma therapy in my old age. It was fantastic. So,
what does that mean?
Was that Pluto-Moon opposition? I made a trauma.
You had a trauma therapy?
I made one, yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, what Pluto does is it makes you ready to face the big stuff.
Yeah.
You know, America's going through the Pluto, and we're still being dragged into it. We don't want to face it. We want to blame somebody. And a lot of us are breaking through and making it, and a lot of us aren't. Well, I tell you what, Renata, you stick with us through the years here, and I think you're going to have some bumps in the road, but the Uranus return is so fabulous. That's when you're about 84. And what you will feel then is you will feel done. You will feel like my mission is accomplished. I have a great author that I admire so much, and he wrote so many books. And he got to the end, and he was just done. He wrote his final book. He felt finished. Said John Paul, the Pope, John Paul II. He was exactly 84, right when Uranus was right there. You saw him standing there in that body there, wouldn't take him any further, and he was done. He was finished.
Mhm.
So what's going to happen is you're going to solidify as a true you, and you're going to start to solidify your pathway to the beyond. Okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Any questions?
No, at the moment not.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
I thank you.
You are certainly welcome. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit. John Paul, yes. Some people Saturn hits and tears them apart. Saturn returns real simple. Saturn transits are real simple. Would you give a responsible job to this person? Would you hire them to do this job? If you say yeah, then your Saturn is going to probably be pretty positive. And if you say no, they mess it up and they leave it undone, and oh boy, then Saturn is going to mess with them. Why? It's not because Saturn gets mad at them. I've been meaning to talk about this anyway. It's down on my notes. Santa's not getting mad at you. Boy, you did a bad job. I'm going to get you. See, we got so much of that junk in our mind trying to keep daddy happy, trying to keep mommy happy. There's nobody we got to keep happy. Nobody. We have a hard time with the fact that there aren't any rules anywhere. Unless the ones you made up or the ones you agreed to. The reason you have trouble with Saturn is because you're out of sync with your own Saturn. That's the problem. Saturn's a part of you says, I can't stand getting up every morning and nothing works and I don't have any routine and I can't count on any money and boy, my teeth are bothering me and my Saturn wants me to be regular and it wants me to be attentive and it wants me to be responsible. And when I get in sync with that planet, when the planet comes over, then Saturnian types of things happen that are positive. Uranus, for example, which is hitting you. Uranus doesn't just bombard you with chaos because, ooh, here's somebody down here. We look at her. Let's go get her. Let's blow her up. That's not how it works. It's your Uranus. Your Uranus is the real you. It's the real spark. Let's talk about God's tree. God puts out another leaf through his magic, whatever it's called. Creation. He puts out a leaf that's called Renate. And Renate is a very special leaf. And she's nothing like any other leaf ever. Your ability to stay in sync with that is what matters, even if that leaf doesn't get any sun or any air or any liquid and it dies soon. That's your karma. But we keep believing that this stuff is coming from outside. It's not coming from outside. It comes from inside, and we see the manifestation on the outside. Does that make any sense? Susan Rivera, you always have a lot of questions. Yeah.
No, this all makes sense.
All right, let's look at your chart.
I have no Taurus.
That's okay. You don't have to have Taurus. As I keep teaching you, what do you need to have? Your lights went out. You need electricity. 6 planets.
Right.
Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. It affects all 12 signs. It's just affecting those 4 straight. It's affecting those 4 in particular. Yeah. So when you think Taurus in your mind, you automatically think Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius. Mm-hmm. Think about the moving, twisting cross at all times. That's how you do astrology. Your lights went out, Susan, and that's okay. I can still see the chart. Okay.
Okay.
let's see what we got here. Let's get, okay, all right. Susan of Ayrshire. Okay. Now, dear Susan, sun up in Sag. Oh, boy, that was good. Boy, that's symbolic, isn't it? Let me see what's going on with the microphones. You know, what's happening with these software companies, John, is they were not prepared for the plethora of tablets. Tablets everywhere, just took over like the PCs did. And I remember the one time I put a woman on here and she got the tablet on, her picture was upside down. You remember that? When Melody came on and she was upside down?
Right.
In other words, the programmers have had to adjust everything so quickly to go to please all the iPods. And it's understandable why everybody wants a tablet in their lap. But not all the buttons are conducive to using Zoom as they are on a laptop. Back to you, then we're going to go pick on Marcia. Okay. Does that make you feel good, Marcia? Okay. Okay. Let's, okay, Susan's chart. Okay, here she is. Okay, we see a sun in Sag, and I'd like to read the triplicity first. The sun is in Sag, Aquarius is rising, and the moon is in Gemini. That's highly, highly compatible because you got the flexibility of Sag, you got the flexibility of Gemini, you got the flexibility of Aquarius. You got so much flexibility that I'm concerned. Okay, there's just so much, and what that means, without that Venus-Saturn of yours, you would be scattered to the wind.
Yeah.
I had a guy today. I met a Taurus guy. I was talking to him. He's a Taurus. He's got the moon in Gemini. And I told him he needs to start aiming lower. And I'm not talking moralistically. What happens is when you're a fixed sign like Taurus or Scorpio, and your moon's in flighty Gemini, well, the Taurus is, I'm going to go paint the house, and damn it, I'm going to paint the whole thing, and I'm going to paint the next 3 houses in the block the next couple of days. I'll have one peanut butter sandwich, and I'm just going to bust my butt till they're all done. Well, that's what fixed energy is. I can do that. Well, when you got a moon in Gemini, you get one window painted, and you poop out. You go, well, did you see the ice cream truck just went by? You get distracted. Yeah. Not because you're a weak Taurus or a weak Scorpio, because your moon doesn't want to paint the damn house. Right. You see? So what happens with these people, and I'm talking about all of them, everybody I've ever seen with moon in Gemini is this. I tell them to aim lower. Go out today and dedicate yourself to painting the door and one side of the house. And that's it. Now, when you kind of got enough energy and stick to it, and that's to get it done. Then by then, your moon in Gemini has seen something else happen, and you can go take off and do that. Right. Now, it's a complex mixture because you don't want to always be distracted, then you get nothing done. So you have to kind of balance it. But you've got a triple indication here. You've got the Sag Gemini, which triplifies itself. Then you got the Aquarius rising. So you thank God you've got that fixedness, that stableness that stick through with that Venus Saturn.
Right.
Up in Scorpio. Now, the fact that your foundation is getting rocked by Uranus now means we got things to talk about. Okay. All right. So we see that you do have Pluto opposite Mars very widely, 10 degrees, so it's not real strong. You do have Chiron and Capricorn. I've got that in the 12th house. And boy, have I learned about Chiron and Capricorn. these people with Chiron and Capricorn, including me and Marcia, these people are one-pointed. I think Marcia's in the second house, which is all about got to keep the money coming in, got to keep the place stable. You and me both have it in the 12th house. 12th house is no matter what anybody says, I got to stay in touch with God. I got to stay on the same track. I got to stay on the same path with him. I've got all conversations have to come back to that subject. People with Chiron and Capricorn are very one-pointed, to a fault. I've seen it many times. You can't shake these people loose to look at other houses. They're just obsessed with that house because Capricorn wants to make sure. Okay, the Steelers are on. Please don't give me any scores. Thank you. As I'm videotaping. Now, what's going on now is this. You've got Uranus toying with the third house cusp. Remember I said in May 1st, it went into 0. So it's about to affect the third house, which means it is going to start sending us shock waves over to those planets. Well, since Uranus spent 7 years in a sign, not a house, but a sign, Uranus will be from here to about here for 7 years. So we know that in about 3 years, 3.5 years, Uranus is going to have it out with your Taurus, with your Scorpio planets. Here's what that means. This is all past life. Your Saturn Venus up there in that 9th house is somebody with a very resolute, strong philosophy. That's how it is. Boom. Now, some of that has served you well, and some of it has got old and crusty and needs revisited. But it's scared to change, even with all the Gemini and the Aquarius. Some of that stuff up in your belief system is afraid to change. And the main reason it's afraid to change is because you're not ready yet. You're not quite ready yet. Between May 1st and 3 years from May 1st, about 2.5 years from now, you're going to become increasingly more and more ready to change that Saturn Venus because it needs updated. Mm-hmm. Remember, Uranus is the planet that says, pardon our dirt while we update the restaurant. You're trying to eat and the guys go, ah, right? All right, and they're coming through with ladders, and it's a real pain in the butt. And then when you go back to the restaurant, it's nice and new and beautiful. Yes, ma'am.
Well, wouldn't I get along with a lot of that Uranian energy anyway because of the
You
sun?
would, but how do you think your Saturn's going to?
Well, to be honest with you, my spiritual philosophy has been shifting and changing my whole life, and I'm okay with the more question marks. I mean, okay. I don't have answers.
All I'm saying to you, you ain't seen nothing like when Uranus hit your Saturn. You want me to prove it to you? Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time and find out what happened when Uranus squared your Saturn.
Okay.
Okay, and you'll start to see what I mean. Because the Saturn part of you, you take for granted. Just like I'm leaning on this armchair.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden the armchair gets wobbly and I can't lean on it. Oh. When Uranus hits Saturn, things you always depended upon become shaky.
Oh, so spiritualism would okay.
See how your moon and Sag is always ready to jump to fill in the conclusion? We don't know enough information to jump to the conclusion.
Right.
What I'm telling you is you're going. This is like you go to a building pier that goes out in the ocean, and they're smart, and they're starting to take down some of the rafters that hold it up because they're weakening. They're years ahead. They're strengthening up, and at one time they're both up there. Then when it's strong enough, they take the weak boards away. That's why you're getting this discussion tonight. This heads up. Okay. If you weren't sincere about your growth, you would not have been included in tonight's discussion. That's just how God's grace works. So, Did you notice how Uranus is going to go into the third house? This is why it's so important for you to learn that chapter in my book on polarities.
Okay.
You must clearly understand the polarity of Gemini and Sag, just like all 6 polarities. What's the difference? Well, they're all necessary, but Gemini is the mind. How does the mind work? The mechanics, the software, pull the chip out, put a new chip in. But it's not philosophical. It's a machine. The 9th house, up above, is the big machine, the college, the degrees, the overall philosophies. But they're directly related. So what we can see is since May 1st, I don't care where your planets are at, since May 1st, the way your mind works has been changing. It's been changing. With Uranus, number 1, it speeds up. Number 2, it becomes more scientific. Number 3, it becomes more unpredictable. Okay? It wants to be spontaneous. And remember, the main effect here is what's Uranus going to do in your 3rd house, secondarily what's going to happen up in the 9th house. And since we know that your 9th house is the cement foundation to your chart, we know that this all has to work with a darn good engineer in charge of things. You understand? So what's happening first is you're going to start to change the way your mind works. You're going to identify sectors that are not reacting quick enough. You're going to identify sectors that are reacting too quickly. You're going to want to take inventory and get your computer working better. Okay? Now let's go back in time. Let's go see what happened. Now, we get a tour of New York City. This is nice. Okay. So I'm going to put your chart on the chopping block. I got too many buttons here. All right, let me go set this up with the buy wheel. Stop sharing and reshare. All right. What I'm going to do is show you this, all right? So I'm talking about your natal Uranus is here. It's gone around. It's now down. It's gone back and forth. As a matter of fact, this is where it is right now. It's going to continue when you're 84 is when it'll return back to here.
Right.
Just like with Renate.
Right.
So 84 years ago is around to here. When it's 3/4 of the way, you're approximately 63 years old. Okay? So you see that was just recently. When it was at 27 degrees, it was at a right angle to Uranus. Not only do you have Uranus, but you got Uranus next to Jupiter, which makes it even fierier. I want to go back and look at your relationships and your freedom when you were 42, when Uranus was opposite Uranus. Watch this. I'm going to go back. The middle ring is your birth chart that never changes. These are where these planets always match the date that I set them to here. I'm going to go back by years, and here I go back in time. Okay. Makes your life kind of go fast, doesn't it?
1997.
All right, there you go. Okay, in 1995, Uranus was opposite Uranus. Do you see that? It had gone around halfway. That's the midlife crisis. Okay? Now what I want to look at, I don't want to confuse you. I'm getting myself and you confused. I want to look at something else. I want to look at this. I want to see when Uranus hit that Saturn. Remember, this, I misled you, I'm sorry. This is the solid spot of the chart holding everything together. I want to give you an idea of what Uranus is going to be like in opposition to Saturn by going back 21 years when Uranus squared Saturn. So now we're looking at approximately sometime in the year 2000.
Okay.
So what happened in the year 2000 as far as your stability in your life, your overall philosophy?
Well, this was when I was beginning to determine that I could not continue as an agnostic. And I started deeply searching to find out, is there a God or isn't there? I just want to know. And that was when I was about a few months away from discovering spiritualism by fall of 2001, I believe.
Okay, that's exactly what did it. And usually spiritualism is brought to you by Neptune. But in your case, it wasn't. Here's how you can tell. Neptune brings things to you slowly, like a George Harrison song, and you kind of pick it up and you go, wow, my sweet Lord, you know?
Yeah.
Uranus is more boom, bam, bam, wow.
Yeah.
So if it happened like that, see what we saw, in other words, you didn't realize was happening, but for several years before 2000, this was growing.
Yeah.
Your philosophy was pooping out on you. It was becoming outdated. And then by the time it was ready in 2000, it appeared sudden, boom, spiritualism.
I think I must have been around 46, 47. Is that right? 2000, I have to think.
Yeah,
My math is
that's about right.
So that would be when I was getting close to the age my father was when he died.
Mm-hmm.
And that was why I was very concerned with mortality and what happens after, and is there a God? And I needed answers.
Okay. What you can say is that up until that time, you were resting on Saturn, Venus in the ninth house. And if Saturn, Venus in the ninth house is anything, it's agnostic.
Right. And for me, it was...
Saturn's not a good planet for believing in God. It's believing in what I see, I can touch, what I feel, I can feel.
Right.
Okay. But I'm showing you that this is another octave of what happened to you in 2000.
Right.
So, let's give you clarity here, because I messed it up. I apologize. Let me give you clarity of what's happening now. Okay. Okay, so now we found out when Uranus was here at a right angle to Saturn what happened. But now Uranus is building for the next 3 years. It's going to oppose that Saturn. Okay?
So it's a testing of those philosophies?
Well, it's going to do a lot of things. It's not simple. It's going to do a lot of things. It's going to have relationships involved since there's an opposition. What I think is going to happen is, one, you're going to use between now and the next 3 years, gradually updating how your mind works. Then, around 3 years, it's going to say, okay, it's time now to install that into your philosophy. Okay? So what I like about it is this. Your Sag-Gemini combination with your Aquarius rising is very lively and it wants to rely upon what's real. But Saturn is all too ready to rely upon old BS, old structures, just because they've lasted. That trail's been out there for a long time. It's got to be the right trail because look how long it's been there. Well, that's not good, healthy thinking. You know, there are a lot of people that have that kind of thought. Old, tried and true, it must be right. And it's not right.
Right.
So what's going to happen is your next 3 years, you're going to start, it's going to be a very smooth difference. You're going to start adjusting how the mind works, and then in the next 3 years, you're going to be adjusting how the philosophy works. And you're going to see that the adjustment in philosophy for years 4, 5, 6, 7 are directly related to how much you allowed the mind to change during these next 3 years. And in so doing, you're going to look and see you've got 2x4s that are treated now, holding up your fort, whatever, versus you had these old 2x4s that were running down.
Right.
So in other words, you're going to be held together with a healthier, updated version.
Okay.
And what is Saturn in the ninth house? Well, what it really means is this. What is the stability of man? There's only one thing in man that can make you stable. Ain't your mommy, your daddy, your boyfriend. What?
Belief in God, belief in yourself.
Exactly. It's exactly right. Right. This is going to replace the false but needed but necessary reliance on this is how it was done and this is the way we'll do it and it'll be okay now. See? So you're in that change now. And all these years in the past you've been doing since 2000 is all the prep work that's been getting you ready for this.
Right.
So it's beautiful. It looks beautiful in front of me, the way I see it. And this is because in some past life, you had to learn to hold on somewhere or yet it was sunk. Well, who knows why, but that's where it comes from.
Right.
So, and I think that as you teach, and you are a teacher, as we all are, as you teach through the next 7 years, your teaching will reflect that more and more. You'll be teaching people that this is your stability. It's not your money. It's not your girlfriend. It's not your house. It's not your IRA. It's right here.
All right.
Does this make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Very good reading.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And you see what's doing the work. It's not the Uranus out there. It's the Uranus inside. But your Uranus inside doesn't always get to speak, even though it's next to Jupiter. It doesn't always get to speak because that Saturn is so strong. That Saturn up there has to be resistant and strong, even if it's wrong, because it's the only one keeping the house in order, because Uranus and Jupiter and Gemini and Sag aren't going to. They're just going to have more parties.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
This is why we return to reading charts. Then you see the magic. You see the magic of how it all works. Thank you. Marcia, Bud, you been having trouble disconnecting?
Yes, I keep losing internet tonight.
Well, we're going to your chart now. Let's take a look.
If I lose you, try to get back to you.
That's all right. Okay, where's Marcia at? Okay. I don't know why I'm picking these charts. I just am. Okay. Marcia Budd, born 2 days earlier than me. 2 days. The moon is in Aquarius. It went into Pisces, and I was born. So I know your chart well, but I don't have Sag rising, and you do. The reason I let this happen automatically is because I don't know. I'm not studying these charts. God knows which charts are ready to reveal what stuff. We're all receivers. We're all receivers. And let me ask you something. I didn't get his permission, so I won't put it on YouTube. But if you would like the last 10 minutes tonight, I will play Nick's private video he made for me on the subject of, I asked him a question on Facebook. Why is it that we know nothing? I know things. What do you mean I don't know anything? His whole philosophy is based on I know nothing. If you'd like to, I could play that video for you tonight.
No.
Is that a kind of a yeah or kind of a no?
Yeah.
It's a kind of a yeah. Okay. Where I come, we go like this, and we go like okay. All right. And I bought the cats I bought the cats a thing where they could sleep in two of them, and the one's too big now. And the one's too big, and they get too hot. So he's got to sleep half out. He's growing like crazy every day. All right, let's continue. Marcia Bud, the Capricorn, H-Twin, Sun opposite Uranus, all the lively life that you had on Broadway. The Moon in Aquarius, very friendly combination. A Capricorn Sun, a Moon in Aquarius. Jupiter, by the way, I've just found out about this. Jupiter mine is exact and yours is almost exact. Here you have Jupiter next to Eris. I'm getting some sound here. I need to find out what that is. Let me see here. Okay, all right. Jupiter next to Eris makes us socially speak out because we think something's not fair. And that sure is you, and that sure is me. All right. I have much to learn about Eris. Okay. In your chart, you can see that it's almost a bucket pattern to Jupiter, which it kindly is. And I like that because what Jupiter in Aries is, I've always told you, that means it's one of your main planets. Well, what's the problem with Capricorns? Capricorns don't trust, they drag their feet, they don't want to do anything, they're afraid of things. But when your chart's run by Jupiter in Aries, I told you that's like the bus pulling up in there, the van pulling up at your sidewalk, and your friends open a door and they say, get in. Well, Jupiter in Aries is, woo, I'm in. And then 6 miles later, you go, where are we going? So we're very lucky to have that Jupiter in Jupiter in Aries, because it gives us an impulsiveness that otherwise we'd have too much Capricorn, too much Saturn that would be holding us back. So thank goodness. So Jupiter in Aries is a real big deal in your chart and in mine. Okay. All right. Now, we're looking at what's going on. Pluto is about 21. Pluto is at 19. It's going to get to 21 soon. It's been affecting this Mars-Neptune. Pluto's going to continue to square this Mars-Neptune of yours. Okay. What that means is it's in the house of friendship and spirit. This is the house of friendship. This is the house of spirit. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. This is the house of career. This is the house of friendship. So while this Mars-Neptune is getting hit by Pluto, we got to analyze what is this Mars-Neptune. And what the Mars-Neptune is, it's literally when I'm at work or when I'm with my friends, I make sure that what I do things, I'm not doing them selfishly. That's an exact translation of what that means. When I'm at work, in my career, with my friends, I make sure that I don't get run away with being selfish, that I'm always considering others. That's what it means. And what the Pluto is saying to it now, your Pluto, is how well has that worked out for you, dear? That's what Pluto's saying. Mm-hmm. So in ways that it has not worked, and there are certainly ways where it's not worked, that needs change. Sometimes you're just being selfless out of habit or thinking it's the right thing to do, but you see that it's not really benefiting you. And those things have been changing a lot all this year, all next year, as Pluto keeps hitting the Mars and the Neptune. Does that make any sense, bud?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And what that means is what I've always said on this show, Renate, we need to get rid of our 59-minute relationships. Talk about myself. How you doing, Marcia? Talk about myself for 59 minutes. Oh, the last minute. How are you? How you been? Huh? Now don't even listen to what you're saying. So those things have to die because they're not real.
Mm-hmm.
And Pluto does not put up with those things. Pluto is all about impactful, disciplined, dedicated love relationships. Well, how are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? That's healthy. When it's how are you and you're only this part of the conversations, those things have to go. And I'll bet you already those things have already gone.
Oh, a lot of them have.
Yeah, and also, did you know, I know you just got married. Did you and Flip go to the same high school? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, look how wonderful that is. You know, and a wonderful match, you two. See, so
Also
light.
went to the same middle school and the same elementary school.
Oh my God. Well, how wonderful. Well, my hunch is this. He came to you later in life. He didn't come to you when you're 40. My hunch is he came to you as soon as you had just let go of those 59-minute relationships.
Yeah, that was letting go of the theater.
Yeah.
Really?
Everybody, and this could be a whole book, everybody says, do you see somebody in my life? Do I have intimacy in my chart? Etc., etc. There's no planet that brings a person. They do come with the planets sometimes. The planets come to you when you let go of your baggage. I'm sorry. The partner comes to you when you let go of your baggage. As soon as you do, within minutes. So it's a wonderful thing. And I look at your wedding pictures and you look extremely happy. Okay, so in a way of speaking, your happiness through a relationship came to you when you became ready to say that, you know, sometimes I'm not going to worry about them. Sometimes I'm going to worry about me because I deserve it. And boom, there you go. That's how she works. And
Like
we've got.
my daughter said to me, right when we got engaged, she said, "Mom, can't you wait till I graduate college to get married?" And I said, "No, Molly, I can't wait. I'm too old." She looked at me. Oh.
Well, what a wonderful story. What a wonderful story. And there's so many people that have not learned this yet that are still, it's so sad. You see, the culture is based on it. That to be selfless, to go up on the cross and go up on the cross and go to church 4 times a day, that you're helping yourself. But maybe in some ways you are, but maybe you're not. And you need to look at it. Anyhow, that's what I'm all about, is that lesson there. It seems to be my bailiwick. Let's get back to your chart. Wonder where Waldemar is tonight. No, we're not going to talk about the election results. I'm going to keep everybody happy tonight. We're not going to talk about those things. Okay. So you see, Pluto is doing that to the Mars Neptune. And that's what really unleashed you. Now, Neptune is sitting where? Neptune is right here. Neptune is at 14. All your life it's gone from here down to here. So that means that Neptune's getting really close to this line. Neptune will be on that line in about 4 years, but growing gradually. And what that means, without a doubt, as Neptune gets closer, you will start basing your entire life upon spirit. The bottom line in the chart is your background, your foundation, your home. Up here is where you're going, your calling, where you've been, what are you standing on, where are you headed. Well, when Neptune takes over this, I mean, it just hit us, me and Liza, we both got up and moved to a little tiny town next to the river. So it's very common that you move near water. I know you're in the middle of an island anyway. But more importantly, you're going to be readying yourself for your spiritual lunge, and you're going to be basing your life upon your inward lessons, basing your life on spirit. Because as I said to you, here's your Chiron in Capricorn. And your Chiron, even though it's in the late first house, it's really having impact on the second house. So that means when we look at Chiron in Capricorn being obsessed that this area of the chart be done and made sure, this is all the second house about money and foundations and having the reserves I need. So what I'm saying here is you did the work, you paid your dues, you let go of the theater people who were one-sided with you. Mm-hmm. You got the man in your life out of nowhere when he always was there, and now you're heading towards spiritual liberation. Mm-hmm. And see, to you and me, these things happen naturally. Well, that's what the planets are.
Yeah, it feels very natural.
Yeah, the planets are natural. Mm-hmm. And when you say to each other, what got into you? Well, what's come over you? Well, I feel this thing coming. That's the same thing. Mm. I don't know how it works, but it does. Nobody will believe you, but it does. Okay. All right. And I will be stopping at 9:30. Uranus. Let's take a look at what Uranus is doing. Uranus has gone into 0 Taurus, which is about here. It's opposite nothing. It's at a right angle to nothing. So Uranus is not hitting anything closely. Okay? Uranus is not hitting anything closely, but what it's doing, let me get this straight here. No, that's not right. I'm going to skip Uranus for right now because it's quiet. Did you guys know that I think yesterday or today, Jupiter came home? Jupiter entered Sagittarius. It does it every 12 years like clockwork. 1 year, one sign, 1 year, one sign. And Jupiter is not the most powerful planet, even though it's the largest. Jupiter's come home to Sagittarius. Okay, Jupiter's very, very good in Sagittarius. So whatever area of you chart for 1 year, yes, John, for whatever area of your chart you have Sagittarius, that area is going to light up. You can expect things to do well there. They expect things to land in your lap easily when Jupiter's in that area. It's not an end-all be-all, but it's pretty darn good compared to Saturn and Pluto. So let's take a look. So Jupiter is crossing your ascendant. And by God, look what happened when Jupiter was on her Venus. Look what happened when Jupiter was on her Venus and she got married. Oh my God, right from the gods, 12th house. So Jupiter is now at 0 Sag. It'll be on this ascendant in the next few weeks. So this is a promise. I hate that word, but some astrological constructs reserve that word. This is a promise of things going really well the next month or so. In other words, when Jupiter gets strongly aspected in your birth chart, this is the time, Marcia Bud, you change, you shake hands, you go to social, you go to meetings with people, you put out your feelers, You put out your phone calls. Hey, what's going on? And I'd like to try to promote this idea, promote that idea. You know anybody I can connect with? This is the time to do it.
Mm.
This is the time to put the irons in the fire. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that has a lot to do with travel. And you just came back from Italy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty darn good one. I wouldn't be surprised if you go on another long trip with Jupiter involved. So this is very, very good. And Saturn, lastly, sitting at 5. Well, we better talk about this one. 537. Saturn is sitting right on your Chiron right now. 507, it's heading right towards your sun. So Saturn's right in this area. And most people would be toiling with this, but you and I don't because we have very strong Saturns and we're both Capricorns. Okay, with Saturn in the late first house, first of all, don't be surprised if you're feeling a very strong urge to get leaner and meaner. That means physically, that means with your diet, that means with everything. Did you check out? You brought me my mouse. I think we lost her. There she is. He loves his mouse, and I throw it, and he goes and gets it. I know you. Here you are. Okay, I got you back. Yeah, I got you back. Okay. Anyhow, with Saturn on the Chiron, meaner and leaner. It means physically, getting physically tougher, doing more exercise. It also means in your life, living with less, getting meaner and leaner. Going into the second house and approaching your sun, you don't notice it as much because you are living with Saturn as a ruler of Capricorn all the time. But what you basically do when Saturn is on your sun is you ask yourself, is my life working the way I want it to work? Are you finding yourself having those thoughts?
Sometimes.
Okay, so because this is the right time to do it, and what Saturn's going to do, Saturn's going to start making lists of the things that aren't the way you like them, and you're going to start changing them. And some people are going to be a little surprised because we are the sign that everybody depends on, right? We are the sign everybody depends on, and when we change, it can really shake up things. So I think it's a really good position your chart's in now. If the following parts of your body are giving you any difficulty, don't delay. Teeth, don't delay. Anything going on with the teeth, get on it right now.
Man.
Knees, bones, joints, skin. All the hard parts of the body, plus the skin that surrounds the body. The knees, the bones, the joints. I'm getting TMJ here. I never had it in my life the last couple of days. Because Saturn's sitting on my Chiron. Saturn just makes joints lock up. And the best thing to do when Saturn's around is yoga, stretching, releasing. Here he goes. Good. He brought his mouse back to me. Give me your mouse. We're going to tune out to the YouTubers right now, and we'll finish up here in just a second. Goodbye. Thank you, YouTubers. Join me next week, 8 o'clock on Unplugged. You can just go to Google and put in Astrology Unplugged, 8 o'clock Thursdays.